Clint 67, take one.
Hi, my name is Clint, and I live in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and this is my 1967 Porsche 912 soft window Targa. When I moved to Nashville from Indianapolis about 5 years ago, I was looking to rebuild all of my automotive connections. I've had a passion for cars since I was 16 years old and had my first car. Go into junkyards and find parts that are rare, especially if it's old and German. But when I moved from Indianapolis, I lost those connections, the mechanics that I trusted and the paint shops that I worked with and sources for parts. I worked to try to figure out what was in the Mount Juliet community. Shortly after moving here, I bought a 1980 Porsche 924 Turbo to restore. Started working on it, got the interior dialed in, and needed somebody to do the paint work. One day I was driving through Mount Juliet and I noticed a really nice Volvo sedan, a lot of cars in different stages of paint sitting outside, and decided to pull up and see what was going on, and met Jim Beck. He allowed me to look at his work. We talked. I brought the 924 to him some weeks later, and he took a look at it and said that he could tackle it. Based on the work that he had done and my dialogue with him, I decided to give him a shot, let him paint that car, and he did a tremendous job. Jim has a real passion for his work. When he started working on the car, he wanted to do it right, just like I had imagined it. He let me source new seals. I'd bring him parts. He disassembled it, removed the doors, removed all of the seals, and did it in the proper fashion. Brought it down to original paint in order to do a proper respray. He took his time. He let me know exactly what stages he was at and challenges he had. And I appreciated that. After about 3 months, went back, picked up the car. Beautiful car. He did a really good job on the paintwork. Couldn't be happier with it. That was that. I was done with cars for a while. Jim gave me a call and told me that he had a Porsche 912 that he was thinking about taking a look at. But I did mention to Jim that if he didn't buy it, let me know who to go to so I could explore it myself. Some weeks later, he came back and he said that he acquired the car. He mentioned it was a Targa, but when he told me the year, I knew it was a soft window Targa. It was a complete car. What was special about the car, after taking a look at it when he brought it back to Tennessee, was that it was all original. The original owner purchased it in Germany in March of '67. Then about a year and a half later, a second owner acquired it, and that owner had it until Jim purchased it. It was all original. No body panels were ever replaced. Came with the original toolkit, the original travel kit, a lot of documentation going back to the mid-'70s. The cool thing about this car is that it was hand-built. It's a 53-year-old car, so definitely there's some hand craftsmanship to a degree in all cars, but this one's quite different. The entire car is moved along by hand on dollies throughout the process back in the 60s. It's a 5-speed car, still has the original 5-speed transmission. This car is actually equipped with Recaro sport seats. There weren't many 912s equipped with Recaro sport seats. There were only 552 Targas actually made. To have a 912 survive for 53 years, not only with the original sports seat, but one that doesn't need reupholstering, is pretty awesome. So that's one of the special things that I noted about the car. I had Recaro seats in another project car I used to own. I love the feel of the seats. So it's good to have the grandpa of all Recaro sport seats. This is the original upholstery. The center that you see was originally black. But over the years it has faded to the brownish golden color that you see here. The leather is original. It's never been reupholstered. I did replace the straps at the bottom for support because the original straps lost their elasticity, but everything else on the seat was perfect. And I'm going to keep it just like it is. These seats, I think, convey the character of the car, they convey the history of the car, and I want to right now just try to keep them the way they are. I like the fade, I like the aging of them, and it's only original once. So when this car was built, they not only stamped the body panels to match up to the individual cars, but they also added crayon marks to track parts and options with the body as it went through assembly. So here you can see the original crayon marks are there, marking the, there's 2 other digits under there, marking the VIN number of the car. And then when I took the dash off over here, it revealed some stories. It was a radio delete car. No radio was optioned from the factory, and so no one's ever tampered with this, which is great. Then there was a surplus piece of vinyl here, and underneath of that, you could see one of the builders or inspectors on the line that took part in the assembly of this car, and they signed off there, and that's this vinyl piece has protected that mark all these years. So this is all going to stay as is. It's not going to be tampered with. Even the tongue cover that came for the soft window, when it's folded down, it was brand new and never used, and it still has crayon marks marking the VIN number. And based on the few people that I've talked to, no one's ever heard of such a thing, because those tongue covers have been used over the years. So the crayon marks have been washed off, through cleaning and regular handling. This one was never handled, and it still has the VIN marks. So from a restoration standpoint, that's a detail that I'm not sure if other cars have. I have a lot to learn, but I haven't yet found a car or a person that's been aware of that. So it's told a little story through its history, through its original configuration. The trunk panel would be pretty easy to replace and just buy a new one. They make aftermarket ones, but this is stamped with its original VIN number, so it's not going to be replaced. It's solid, relatively rust-free, but it does have some damage that occurred in its past. So Jim's going to fix this, bend everything back out to the way it should be here underneath this trailing edge. Make sure there's no filler anywhere in this. It doesn't feel that there is any filler, and we're gonna save that original panel as well. That's the part there with that lettering in the 912. It has its original glass too. It's all original factory mark glass, so it's never been broken. Happy about that. What I'm not happy about is the fact that when it was in storage, the battery was left in it, as is common with a lot of these cars that are barn finds. And when the battery was left in, it eventually leaked, and all of the acid dropped through the battery tray and spread across the front suspension pan. Fairly limited. The rust doesn't extend to this back portion of the pan, but this will require upper metal replacement as well as the lower suspension mounting point replacement through a panel, and then a new battery tray as well. I have that metal over there in that pile of metal, and what Jim will do is remove this upper panel, drill out the spot welds, then it could access the lower panel and remove that, and then start building in layers to replace the lower pan, make sure it matches up to the suspension points so that the measurements are right, so the car is square, and then the new panel will be spot welded back in the top with the replacement battery tray. Overall though, the car is pretty rust free. This is very solid area. A lot of times you see these front panels completely rusted out. This is a solid original panel, never been in an accident. I've explored it and there's no covered rust through or anything. Holes here are tight, they have integrity all the way around. See this fender mount? Wouldn't have known this with the fender on the car, but this is the nice thing about taking a project on from scratch. When you build a car from scratch, you get to know it. You're disassembling it, reassembling it, and though it may be time consuming, you learn a lot about the car. Whereas if you buy a car sight unseen and assume it's done right, things like this could slide through. This is a fender support. It's loose. It shouldn't move like this. There is some rot here in this lower portion of the panel. Pretty straightforward metal work here. I've seen what Jim has done before with a custom Dodge truck in particular, where he's extended the front end to accommodate a Cummins, I think he not only extended the front end on this truck, but it also pivots nose first, or pivots on its nose. I've seen Jim's metalwork. He's taken on a lot more complex needs than this. This is nice in that it's limited and we should be able to save this panel. The other side appears to have good integrity, but we'll check that out once Jim tears it down and removes the suspension pan and replaces it. So by us doing this, have more confidence in the final product, and know, and we'll have comfort in knowing that things are done right and that there's no hidden surprises to pop up 5 or 10 years from now. Porsche provided the Cardex to this car, which is a document that basically, it's like a birth certificate. It shows exactly what options it had. Every single option this car was equipped with was still with the car when I got it from Jim, untampered with. Even the interior cleaned up really well, and it's the original interior. For that to happen on a car that hadn't seen the road in near 20 years, that's pretty amazing. So, I look forward to putting that type of originality back into the car so that it has character when Jim's done with it. But the body's going to look great. The body's going to be totally sorted. If we have to tear it down to this level, I want to make sure that it's built back up right. Jim's willing to take that on, came out, took a look at it, gave me a turnaround time. And I've seen Jim work with a lot of American iron, a lot of the Dodges, a lot of the Chryslers. I know that's his passion. What I like about Jim is that he doesn't take things on if he knows he can't handle it. And this is a different type of car that Jim normally has at his shop, I'll say that. But my 924 Turbo was too. And he took it on and did a fantastic job and really cared for it as though it was his own. So I know that I'm going to get that quality effort when it comes to the metalwork on this car. He's going to take his time, he'll research, he'll do things right. I have no doubt that Jim is going to do a fantastic job. Definitely trust him with his attention to detail. He knows I'm pretty picky with what I'm expecting out of this car, but I know he's going to deliver too. So what's nice about Jim is he'll let me come in, check out the work. He's not fazed by that at all. He definitely is responsive. Really like the work that he has done. But this requires a type of approach where the person who works on it really has to care about what they're doing. It's not going to be a 100-point restoration, but everything Jim touches, I want the body to be 100%. I want the body to be solid, straight, all the metal brought back to the way it left the factory. And it's not something I imagined I'd be doing now. I figured I'd do something like this 20 years from now, and maybe I'm retired. But I also know that in 20 years, these cars will be much harder to find in this condition. To be able to find something that hasn't been touched in 53 years, and not pay an absolute staggering premium for it, it convinced me to get the car now and try to take this on as the major project. So it's kept me sane during quarantine, and I look forward to it getting done and being back on the road the way Porsche intended.